Dear friend, once Lord Buddha said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. Dear friend, have you ever considered the power of silence? Imagine this. A serene monk sits quietly, unmoved by the questions of curious strangers. Instead of speaking, he writes a simple phrase. Words are not silence. Why did he choose silence over words? Could silence carry wisdom beyond what words can express? Welcome to the Motivation Zone at Freedom. In today's video, we'll explore the profound Buddhist philosophy behind the silent monk. This isn't just about silence as the absence of sound. It's about a deep, transformative silence that reveals truth, mindfulness, and wisdom. Together, we'll uncover why the monk's silence wasn't empty but filled with profound meaning, how it connects to Buddhist teachings, and how we too can embrace this wisdom in our lives. Let's dive into the art of silence and discover its hidden power. Let me take you to a tranquil monastery where a monk sat in silent meditation, exuding peace and stillness. One day, a group of strangers approached him, curious about his vow of silence. They asked him directly, "Why do you not speak?" Instead of responding verbally, the monk took a piece of paper and wrote a single, profound phrase. Words are not silence. The strangers were puzzled. They expected a detailed explanation, yet the monk's silent response carried a depth they couldn't immediately grasp. Why did he choose silence over speech? What could he have meant by those simple yet powerful words? This story, though brief, raises an important question that transcends the scene at the monastery. Why does silence sometimes convey more wisdom than words? What is it about silence that allows it to communicate truths that language often cannot? Today, dear friend, we're going to dive deep into these questions. Our goal is to explore the Buddhist philosophy that views silence not as emptiness, but as a profound and intentional medium for wisdom, truth, and inner peace. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why the monk's silence was more meaningful than any words he could have spoken, and how we can apply this wisdom in our own lives.
Words are powerful tools for communication, but they are also inherently limited when it comes to expressing the ultimate truth. In Buddhism, truth is not something that can be fully captured in language. Words, after all, are symbols, mere representations of reality. They can point toward an experience, but they can never replace the experience itself. Think of trying to describe the taste of a ripe mango to someone who has never eaten one. No matter how eloquent your description, the actual taste remains beyond their grasp until they experience it firsthand. The Kalama Sutta, one of the Buddha's most celebrated teachings, highlights this limitation of words. In this discourse, the Buddha advises against blindly accepting teachings based solely on scripture, tradition, or the authority of teachers. Instead, he encourages individuals to rely on their own direct experience to discern what leads to true peace and liberation. This teaching underscores the idea that ultimate understanding cannot be transmitted through words alone, it must be realized through personal insight. This is especially true of nibbana, or enlightenment, which transcends all conceptual thought and verbal explanation. Nibbana is the cessation of craving, the end of suffering, and the ultimate liberation from the cycle of birth and death. How can such an experience, so vast and beyond ordinary understanding, be contained within the confines of language? The monk's silence reflects this profound truth, that some realities are beyond words, accessible only through mindfulness, meditation, and direct realization. In choosing silence, the monk was not withholding wisdom but pointing toward a deeper way of knowing, one that cannot be spoken but must be experienced. Silence, dear friend, is not just the absence of sound. It is a profound state of being that allows the mind to observe itself. In moments of silence, we step away from the distractions of external noise and the endless chatter of our thoughts. This stillness provides the space needed to observe the mind's true nature. In Buddhism, silence is a doorway to understanding three fundamental truths about existence: anicca or impermanence, dukkha means suffering, and anatham non-self. In the stillness of silence, we can witness how thoughts, emotions, and sensations arise and pass away, like waves on the surface of the ocean. This observation reveals the impermanent and ever-changing nature of all phenomena. Nothing lasts forever, and everything is in a constant state of flux. Through silence, we also come to see how clinging to fleeting experiences leads to suffering. When we attach ourselves to what is impermanent, we create suffering, a sense of dissatisfaction or unease, in a constant state of flux. Through silence, by observing this pattern in the quiet of meditation or mindful silence, we develop the wisdom to let go of attachment and embrace a more peaceful state of mind. Finally, silence reveals the illusion of the self, or non-self. As we observe the arising and passing of thoughts and emotions, we realize there is no permanent, unchanging I at the center of our experiences. Instead, what we think of as the self is a dynamic process, a collection of ever-changing conditions. This realization brings freedom from the ego's grasp, allowing us to experience life with clarity and equanimity. By embracing silence, we cultivate mindfulness, a deep awareness of the present moment. This mindfulness becomes the foundation for wisdom, enabling us to see reality as it truly is. For the monk, silence was not empty. It was a space filled with insight and understanding, a powerful tool for connecting with the ultimate truths of existence. In Buddhism, right speech is one of the essential elements of the Noble Eightfold Path, guide for ethical living and mental cultivation. Right speech involves using words in a way that is truthful, kind, and beneficial. It emphasizes avoiding speech that is false, harmful, divisive, or idle. But what many might overlook is that sometimes, the most skillful form of right speech is no speech at all, silence. When we choose silence, we create space to pause and reflect. Words once spoken cannot be taken back, and in moments of anger, frustration, or confusion, they often cause harm. Silence, on the other hand, prevents misunderstanding and conflict. For example, imagine a heated argument where emotions are running high. Instead of responding impulsively, choosing silence allows time for the tension to settle and clarity to emerge. In such cases, silence becomes a shield that protects relationships and prevents unnecessary suffering. There are also moments when silence communicates far more than words ever could. A grieving friend might not need advice or explanations, they may just need your silent presence, which conveys understanding and compassion. In another example, a teacher might choose to remain silent, allowing their students to reflect and discover answers on their own. This approach respects the learner's ability to grow and fosters deeper insights. The monk's silence in our story is a perfect embodiment of right speech. By refraining from speaking, he avoided the risk of misunderstanding and instead offered a profound teaching. His silence was not an absence of wisdom but a deliberate choice to guide others towards self-reflection and truth. In this way, silence becomes not just a tool for inner peace but also an act of compassion, helping others find clarity and wisdom in their own time.
Dear friends, have you ever noticed how noisy our minds can be? Even in moments of quiet, our thoughts race, endlessly planning, reminiscing, or worrying. This constant chatter can cloud our minds, leaving us restless and distracted. But through the practice of meditation, silence becomes a powerful tool for calming the storm within. In meditation, silence is more than the absence of sound. It is the stilling of the mind's endless dialogue. As we sit in silence, focusing on the breath or a single point of awareness, the mental noise begins to subside. Slowly, we move beyond the surface level of thoughts and enter a state of deep inner stillness. This silence allows us to see the mind clearly, like a calm lake reflecting the sky without distortion. This inner silence is essential for attaining insight. When the mental chatter fades, we can observe the true nature of reality and impermanence, the absence of self, and the interconnectedness of all things. These realizations arise not through effort or analysis, but naturally in the quiet space of a still mind. The monk's silence reflects this meditative wisdom. His stillness wasn't merely an external vow of silence, but a profound inner peace cultivated through mindfulness and meditation. His silence speaks of the clarity and insight that come when the mind is no longer ruled by distractions or ego. Dear friends, this is the gift of silence in meditation. It is not emptiness, but fullness. A fullness of awareness, presence, and understanding. By embracing silence in our own lives, we too can tap into this profound source of wisdom and peace. Let us take a moment to reflect. What could we discover about ourselves and the world if we simply embrace silence? Dear friends, silence is often misunderstood as indifference or passivity, but in truth, it can be one of the most profound acts of compassion. The monk's silence in our story wasn't the dismissal of the stranger's questions, but a deeply considerate response. By choosing not to speak, he gave them the space to reflect and uncover the wisdom within themselves. Silence, when offered with intention, encouraged self-reflection and autonomy. Imagine this. When someone gives us all the answers, it can feel helpful in the moment, but it often robs us of the opportunity to explore and grow. Silence, on the other hand, invites us to look inward, to question, and to arrive at our own insights. This act of holding space for another's self-discovery is one of the purest forms of compassion. The monk's silence can also be seen as a way of not imposing his views on others. Instead of prescribing what the strangers should think, he left his message open to interpretation, allowing each individual to engage with it on their own terms. This approach respects the unique paths we all take toward understanding and enlightenment. In this way, silence becomes a guide rather than a directive. It teaches through presence rather than words, fostering a sense of curiosity and inner exploration. The monk's compassionate silence wasn't empty. It was filled with wisdom and an invitation for others to find their truth. Dear friends, we can learn from this. In our daily interactions, there are moments when silence speaks louder than words. By practicing compassionate silence, we can become a source of calm and wisdom for others, offering them the gift of self-discovery and understanding. Let us ask ourselves, how can we use silence to uplift and support those around us? Dear friends, as we reach the end of this reflection, let us take a moment to honor the Buddha, who gifted humanity with teachings that continue to illuminate our lives. His profound insights into the nature of existence have guided countless beings toward peace and liberation. Among these teachings is the recognition of the power of silence, a wisdom that transcends words. Today, we've explored how words, though valuable, have their limitations. They are tools, but they cannot capture the fullness of truth. Silence, on the other hand, becomes a vehicle for wisdom, allowing us to observe the nature of our minds, cultivate mindfulness, and express compassion. Through silence, we create space for truth to emerge, not as something spoken, but as something directly experienced. The monk's silence in our story reflects this deep truth. His stillness was a reminder that enlightenment and understanding cannot be handed to us. They must arise within. This is a timeless Buddhist teaching. Truth is beyond words and must be realized through practice and experience. As the Buddha so beautifully taught, these are the ones who have entered the path. They abstain from idle talk and dwell in silence like a deep well. Dear friends, I invite you to reflect on the role silence plays in your own life. How often do we pause and simply listen to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us? Consider setting aside moments of silence each day to cultivate mindfulness and wisdom. In these quiet spaces, you may discover truths that words could never reveal. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who might find peace and inspiration in the power of silence. Until next time, may your journey be filled with mindfulness, compassion, and the deep wisdom of silence.